Hey, what's happening, family? It's your man Mark Black. Sorry about the different setup here. I was attempting to have our sister on via Skype, but you know how it is, technical difficulties. But you know, one pony don't stop no show, right? So we're gonna go ahead and do work anyway. As I'm certain that many of you know, today we are going to have the inestimable, the powerful sister Akilé is in the house with us today, right? So I'm going to bring her on, take my ugly mug off, and we're going to get a chance to hear from the sister from her own mouth, you know, some words that I think we all need to hear. All right. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, our sister Akile is in the house. Sister, I don't know if you are muted, but if you are, go ahead and unmute yourself.
How y'all doing?
What's happening? There we go. Okay, good, good. By the way, family, let me know if the audio is good. I tried this out, but I want to make sure that it's rock solid. So let me know if the audio is good. Go ahead, Sister Akile, speak a few words. Just say what's up to the fam so that we can make sure we can hear you.
All right. Well, yeah, I just really want to thank you, Mark, and Black Outcast Media for having me on today. I'm really excited.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. No, the honor truly is mine, sister. You fired up a lot of folk with that interview. I don't think in my 46 years, because as you can tell from all this gray, I got a few years on you, but I don't think I've heard in 46 years so much truth to power in one instant. And you lit a fire. And so for me, it's incumbent not just to highlight you, but to show what solid political advocacy looks like for us as ADOS folk and as black people generally, right? You know, so before we get started with the interview, fam, just a couple of things. Sister Akile is able to devote 30 minutes for us. So today's broadcast is going to be in two parts. We're going to do the sit down with the sister here, and then I'm going to come back. So don't leave when the stream ends because I'll restart the stream and we'll continue my normal hump day broadcast from there. Also, if you get if you have some questions that you would like to ask, I'm going to have a Twitter thread that I start immediately after the broadcast where Sister Akile will be able to address your direct questions, right? But we go into it, as always, I want to do a quick shout out to everybody. Let's see, Maiden Dade's in the house, Miss Denny's in the house, Sister Christine, VLB, Richard Byer, Taza Bob, Black Man 903, the Elder BGS is in the house, Maiden Day, Denise, welcome. Denise, is your first time here, welcome. And Charles Watkins is in the house at Easy Be Easy. All right, fam. So without further ado, Sister Akile, I'm certain everybody wants to know a lot more about you as a person, right? So share with us, if you will, a little bit about your background, right? You're obviously a younger sister, right? So tell us a little bit about yourself. You know, what drives you. Just talk to us about who you are, sis.
Well, as mentioned, obviously I'm young. I'm 22 years old. I was born and raised in the city of St. Petersburg, Florida, which is this, small city in the Tampa Bay area. And like I said, I've grown up on the South Side, which is the Black community here, my entire life. And well, I mean, just in terms of my growing up, I mean, I was raised primarily by my father, who, is a Black man, Black working class, had to struggle most of his life here in this city. He was has been a barber all of his life. And and he was immersed in political life when he was younger. He was involved in the Uhuru movement here in St. Pete when he was young. And so, he basically brought me into the whole political discussion. Anything political, anything at all that I had any know about at all, it was because my dad, brought me into this. And so that's pretty much, my upbringing. And in 2015, I graduated high school. And I was going to go off to college, but I decided that, my efforts were going to be best. There was nothing that a college degree, an education that they could give me that was going to be any kind of meaningful, that where I belonged was right here in my community, doing something about the conditions. And when I graduated in 2015, it was around the same time that Mike Brown had just been killed in Ferguson, Missouri. And that sparked, something in me, having known something is wrong my entire life just based on my father's relationship. When this happened and I was in high school, I was the only one in my school who was outraged by what was happening. And in fact, my school had attempted some students had attempted to, just try to ice me out in a certain kind of way. And so it really meant something to me. And I just decided that's not what I wanted to do anymore. I wanted to, get involved. And so, I joined this organization at 18 years old. And, since then, I've been fighting for social and economic justice in the Black community. And, I led a campaign here in St. Pete called Justice for the 3 Drowned Black Girls. And we initiated that campaign in 2016 after the murder of 3 teenage Black girls by the Sheriff's Department, the Pinellas County Sheriff's Department here. They killed 3 teenage Black girls. And so I waged an international campaign fighting for justice for these 3 girls, raising resources for legal fees to put those cops on trial, organize a speaking tour for the mother to go around, cities and win support for this campaign. And so this is the kind of, advocacy, the kind of work that I've been doing. So politicians, they can tell you this whole stream of things about how they've been involved in government and how they've been a part of the status quo, and that's their resume. But I don't have a resume like that. I don't have experience in corruption. I have experience in, political activism and fighting for the democratic rights of the Black community. And in 2017, I ran for office here in St. Pete on the same platform, Reparations and Economic Development to the Black community. And that was the first time anyone in this country ran for any political office on the platform of reparations. And we made Ebony Magazine in 2017. And this campaign went viral in a certain kind of way in the last election, and really sparked the conversation of reparations in the electoral arena today. That's why the Democratic Party is pretending to entertain the question of reparations. It's because of what we did here in 2017. And now I'm back to finish the job, make reparations, public policy here in the city of St. Pete. And that's just briefly me.
Hey, I love it, sis. I love it. So, that kind of actually segues into my next question, right? Because, as an advocate of reparations myself, one of the things that we often struggle with, or I won't say struggle with, but one of the things that we often have to deal with is people saying, well, what do you mean by reparations, right? I mean, you got idiots like Bernard Sanders, right, who said, what reparations, what does that mean? What does that mean? Although, he had no problem with the Just Act, right, of 2017 and other reparational things, right? So when you talk about reparations, right, you're seeking a specific public office there in St. Pete's. For you, as someone who will be an office holder, we can hope, right? We got our thumbs up for you, right? As the person who will be sitting in the seat, what does that look like for your brothers and sisters in St. Petersburg? Like, what are the actual tangible things you are hoping to accomplish sitting in that seat as the District's 7 representative of city council?
Yeah, I think that just before I get into like the concrete, because that is fleshed out in a platform, that the city of St. Pete, just like every place in this country, was built off of the stolen and exploited labor of Black people, and that's how the economy of St. Pete thrives today. That there is all of this development, there's a tourist industry, and all the economy of St. Pete, owes its existence to, the labor of Black people. And that reality has played out today. So it's not like something that happened hundreds of years ago or something, and it doesn't affect Black people in this city. No, Black people are in a worse state now economically than we were even 50 years ago, in this city. And so we recognize that, and the only way for the fake progressives, including these Democrats, they say that, we're a progressive city, we're evolved, we're moving forward. And that's because, they're doing all this development, they're building luxury condos, and they're making this place look like Miami or something. And, that they're saying that this is a progressive city. And meanwhile, the Black community is oppressed, and that there's no way that the city can be genuinely progressive. Any freedom and justice loving person has to understand that there is no way for this city to be progressive, no way to solve even the problems of the people in the city without overturning the oppression of the Black community. Because then that sets the agenda for everything else in the city. So that's why St. Pete today is getting bought out by real estate developers from New York, from Miami, from Texas, and all these other places. Mm-hmm. It's because the foundation, the basis of the system and how it works is off on the oppression of the Black community. So reparations is calling for an end to the oppression of the Black community, which will end the oppression of everyone in the city. And that's what we're calling for. And in practical terms, what will reparations look like? Well, one, it looks like a mass infusion of capital into the Black community.
Right.
Where, the city budget, it has the resources for it. They spend 1/5 of their budget on the police to police our community. But, instead of a public policy of economic development for the Black community, they increase the funding of the police. Mm-hmm. So we want a mass infusion of capital so that we can, build it on existing Black businesses and create new ones, and that's a form of reparations.
Yes.
There's 85 acres of land where currently a baseball stadium rests, called the Tropicana Field Baseball Stadium.
I heard you mention that.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And that stadium sits on what used to be a historic Black community. It was called the Gas Plant District. There were 100 Black businesses. There were, at least 300 homes, 800 people that lived in this area. And those people were pushed out. The gas plant was raised for them to put a dome on that land before they even had a team to play there. So, and now there's talks about this baseball team. They don't want to play here anymore. They want to go, and the mayor is on his knees groveling and, begging for them to stay. And we're saying we want to open the door wide open for them, and we want the return of that 85 acres of land. Because reparations is returning what has been stolen. Well, those 85 acres were stolen, and the Black community wants them back. Turn it over into a reparations land trust, and the Black community can then decide what it is that we want to do with that land. So those are all practical, ways reparations can happen in the city, and many other ways that we can get to that the Black community will have the ability to decide. And that's what the fundamental thing is, the Black community will have the power to do it, the power, the economic and political power to express its will, to use its own labor, to use its own resources, to create its own, to uplift its own community. So
Sister Akilé, what I really like, sorry, I'm not certain where the feedback's coming from, but what I really like, Sister Akilé, is your emphasis upon autonomy, right? A lot of people don't realize that there are many ills that we have as a people, community-wise, that stem directly from the fact that we oftentimes lack control over the reins of power, right? We don't have agency over our decisions or what decisions affect us as a collective. So your emphasis upon autonomy, I think, is spot on. Now, are you aware of any other council members, either prospective, candidates such as yourself, or people who are currently sitting on the city council who you would be able to work with in order to bring some of these things to pass, or are you basically the voice?
Not at all. All those people on city council, they work for that mayor, and the mayor is bought. All of them are bought. The incumbent that I'm running against is bought, and it's really important because what you just said, about the Black community seizing power, because we are, in terms of even the scope of the city, the city is majority white. It's roughly 23% Black. And, there used to be at least 3 majority Black districts. It's 8 districts in the city, and there used to be at least 3. But through a process of what we call gerrymandering and through gentrification, that has reduced the Black districts to 1. Yep. And that's the one I'm running for. And, if we don't do something, this election is so critical because the woman in office today, all she does is defend the policies that, this mayor has put forth that is pushing out the Black community, that will eliminate the ability for Black people to exercise any kind of voting power in the city. So, in that regard, the election system is rigged against the Black vote. They have 2 elections. It's it's a nonpartisan race, but they have a primary and they have a general. And so the top 2 vote getters within a district have to then go up against the entire white population of the city in the general election. And that makes it very hard for even a black person to run on a platform that speaks to black people.
Yeah.
Because the majority of white people then determine what the vote is going to be for that specific district. Now you got to start kowtowing to white people. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's not what we're doing. We're building a movement here in this city because there are no council people that we're going to be able to work with. Because working with council people often means you got to compromise your own beliefs. You got to compromise your platform, and that's not the road we're taking. We're building a social movement in the city on the ground because it comes from the ground. The people are the ones that make it happen. And, having hundreds and thousands of people that are going to apply pressure on this government, that the government doesn't want to make any wrong moves or any bad decisions that's going to conflict with the interests of the people. That's what this is about.
Absolutely.
And, I have a running mate. Her name is Ann Hirsch. She's running in District 5 City Council. And that was one of the districts that used to be black, but now it's majority white. And, the class interest also is an issue because we have the black working class and then we have the black middle class, usually the sellouts who always sell out the interest of the black working class. So this is all the stuff that we're confronted with. And, Ann Hirsch is a white woman who's running on the same platform of reparations and economic development. And we find that critical because white people, it's a majority white city, have to be one to what it is that we're fighting for. So it's a 2-pronged strategy, and then when both of us are elected, now you have 2 people on that council that's going to influence, anything that happens. So
absolutely. Now, as a personal aside, sister, do you plan to stop here? Because one thing that I've learned in my political education is we as ADOS folk, as black folk, would be truly surprised to discover just how little some of the most powerful people that have control over our lives have to spend in order to get into office. One example that I used was that Ferguson's mayor, and I pulled the records from the Missouri elections committees, the election committees there. He only spent $5,000 in his campaign for mayor, right? So, do you plan to just stop here at the council, or do you have further goals down the line as you gain your political footing, as you gain political traction? Tell us a little bit about where you'd like to go.
It's funny because I never saw myself running for any kind of political office at all. And, whatever I need to do, whatever the call is and what I have to do for my community, that's what I'm going to do. In terms of stopping, hell no, in 2017, we ran for office, and obviously I'm back again, which means that I didn't win that first time, and we're back again because, we're going to finish this job. And we refuse for these questions to die. The only reason why people are talking about gentrification, the only reason why people are talking about reparations, the only reason why people are talking about police brutality and murder is because of these campaigns, because the bourgeoisie would just have this conversation in a closet somewhere and wouldn't involve the people at all.
Yeah.
And, but that's not what's going to happen. We're going to contest this arena. It's no longer going to get to be a contest between sectors of the ruling class for control over the state and everybody else. That this is going to be now a discussion that we enter. The black working class is knocking on their front door. And I have no intentions on stopping, the work that I'm doing for my community and whatever that work looks like, whatever that pans out to be. But, never stop it until it's won. That's
Absolutely.
what it's about.
Sister Akilé, what can we who are outside your district, right? Because as you well know, I'm not a St. Pete's person, although, geez, now that we got a candidate like you, kind of makes me wish I did live there. But what is it that we who are outside of your community can do to support not just your efforts to take the seat? That's important. But what can we do to help support you and our brothers and sisters there in St. Pete to make, in your words, St. Petersburg black again? What can we do?
Yes, make the South Side black again. And, everybody can participate in this victory. And that we've already seen since the video of this interview came out, just a tremendous support pooling in from all over this country. And, for anyone who watches your show, who contributed to this campaign thus far, and even your promotions of it, I really just want to appreciate you and all of your viewers, because you guys have all, and wherever you are, I mean, you can donate to this campaign. You can volunteer with this campaign. You can even, from wherever you are, pick up a phone and do phone banking and talk to people and talk to voters and ask them, will you vote for this platform? We got people who come in from out of town. If you want to come to St. Pete, if you're looking for a little vacation, you got some time off before school starts, come to St. Pete. Come to St. Pete, be boots on the ground, and come hit the streets with us. Come hear what the people are saying, and then take this expertise back to where you are, right? So this is all the things you can do. But again, some of the more accessible ways for you is through just a donation, whether it's $1, that's what keeps these campaigns going, because our opponents, they're backed by the big money, big developers, the corrupt, politicians in office. That's who they're funded by. Election, and the people are saying, no, you will not get to do this time around. So donations, voteakile.com, AKILE. You can donate there. You can sign up to volunteer, whatever it is that you want to do. Be sharing these campaigns out on social media, just getting the word out about it, as you guys have been so great in doing already. So.
Now, Sister Akilé, we're coming up towards the end of our time, and again, I can tell from the chat. By the way, fam, the question was a personal aside as far as Sister. I'm glad to hear that she's willing to get in where she fits in, because some people expressed concerns that perhaps I was being premature at asking you what your aims are for higher office, right? So, fam, I get it, right? But kind of to wrap it up. Since we have you here, and you've obviously found a way to kind of tap into that energy that I think is needed for advocacy for our people. If you had other candidates in front of you, right, other people who are either prospective candidates, right, or who are currently running for office, but are looking to speak with the voice of the people, right, of ADOS people, what advice or what would you want to see from them? What would you want to tell them?
One of the most important things that in all the work that we do is to recognize where the power really comes from. Used to being dominated, by, the ruling class. We're used to being pulled in all of their directions. Power really comes from the people. You have to adopt a platform that speaks to the people's interests. These liberal platforms that don't say anything, that don't give anybody any answers. You gotta stand on something that's strong, and to not be afraid of being able to say it, and say, especially if you're a Black person, to say the Black community. I'm running for the interest of the Black community. Because if you're not saying it, you're not saying nothing. I don't want to hear community. I don't want to hear you going around it. No. You want my vote, you have to speak to my interests. And, white people are well represented. You have to speak to Black people. You have to say what you're going to fight for. And then you have to build a movement on the ground to make it happen. Because anybody that's running on that platform and they're sincere will not have the backing of the big money, will not have the backing of the ruling class. So you have to go. You got to get out of your shell. You got to knock on doors. You got to call people, and you have to build a movement, become a part of a social movement, because that's where it happens. That's where the things that you want to advocate for, reparations, things like Black community control of the police, these kinds of things that you want to fight for your community's interests. You want to be able to say that, you're going to need the people to back you 100%. So that's what our is now. Where you see all the struggle and all the resistance from our people everywhere is ripe. We're ready to go. And we just want somebody to represent us. Because, our community is always blamed for we don't want to vote, we don't want to do this, we don't want to do that. But what is out there for us to support that's actually genuinely representing us? Of course we would turn the other way when there's no one here that represents our interests. But I guarantee you start saying the things that the Black community needs to hear, wants to hear, they'll be behind you. And then you just got to follow through with it. You got to fight for it.
Absolutely. Hey, you know what? I don't think I could have said it any better. Now, there's a few questions that people have popped in the chat. I'm going to ask just a couple of them because I'm going to make sure that that we respect your time, right? You're definitely, busy in doing what you do. As you well know, I am an advocate for the American Descendants of Slavery, or what's commonly referred to as ADOS or ADOS, right? Some of the people in the chat have asked, how do you feel about this push that we're making underneath this banner of cleaving to our specific heritage and lineage to press home locally, regionally, and nationally this justice claim that we're all pursuing reparations on the local scale, the state scale, as well as the national scale. What's your personal view on this transformational moment that you see occurring under ADOS?
Well, I'll definitely have to do more, just like research into this movement. But, I think that, people who are gaining political consciousness in regards to what's happening, and that I see it happening everywhere, where Black people are rising up every single place. And like we're united around one common goal, and that's the fight for justice for the Black community, wherever it is that we are. And that, the fight for reparations is a just struggle. And, that I unite with the struggle for reparations to the Black community, for Black people in this country and around the world. I unite with the demand for reparations. And that, that's my platform, and that's what I'm running for. So, that's where I stand.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate you elaborating on that. Now, one last thing before you go, is there something about you that you wish not just your constituents but your people know? Like, what's that one thing about Akilé that you wish everybody had a chance to learn about you, but you never really get a chance to speak on? And it can be anything, right? This is, again, just an opportunity for us to get to know a sister that we've come to respect and esteem, right? What's that one thing about Akilé that you wish everybody knew about?
That's hard.
I'm here to ask the hard questions.
I don't think there's necessarily anything about me as an individual that makes me so interesting. I just want people to know that this struggle is genuine, it is real, and that I'm committed to it, 100%, and whatever it takes by any means to make this happen. And that it doesn't just stop within the electoral arena, that we have to take this everywhere, and that this is a part of the struggle for the democratic rights of the Black community. And I don't have anything, really personal or anything like that. I just, that I love my people, and I would do anything, go to the ends of the earth to see to it that there's justice, and that we are free, people with power in our own hands.
That's what's up. So, I count me on board with that one. Sister, do you have a social media presence? I know we have you on Twitter, right? And I've also shared the link in chat to the Vote Akilé website. But if you just want to shout out your social media presence so people can come and follow you, they stay up on your efforts, what you're doing, go ahead and drop that right now if you like.
Yeah, so as mentioned, at Vote Akilé on Twitter, at Vote Akilé on Instagram, and then it's Eritha Akilé Cainion for District 7. On Facebook. So that's where we are on all those social media platforms.
Awesome. Sister Akilé, again, a pleasure. I'm certain that we've got to see what you're about. We, of course, wish you every bit of luck in your endeavors, fam. If you have an opportunity and you feel so inclined, voteakilé.com to contribute to the Sisters campaign. Follow her, because I want you to see every chance you get the opportunity to see what political advocacy with your name in its mouth, what that looks like. And so, Sister Akilé, thank you again for taking the time to speak with us today. Fam, do not leave the page. Our sister's got other things that she needs to do, but I'm going to come back, restart the stream, and we're going to continue our discussion, but I'm opening the lines right from the beginning so you guys can call in and we can have a conversation. And again, it really was a pleasure and the honor was mine.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, sister. Be right back, fam. Stand by.